So we're gonna see when to trade pieces in this video, and now we have black to move, and black now has the option to capture an e4. So the idea is that captures d5, and we're gonna take the piece back. This idea with black is good. Now in this position we need to trade pieces because we have less space with black. So having less space means that we need to go for trades. Trades are beneficial for us because when we trade stuff, let's say bishop d3 takes, now we have more breathing room for our pieces. We have more space for the rest of our pieces. So slowly but surely we start developing these pieces too, like bishop f6, c6, knight d7, and this position should be equal. Black is completely fine here. So in this position you need to trade stuff, and that's one way to do it, by tactical means. Of course, if you have any other trades, it's also good to go for them. Of course, knight c6, that's a trade that you can go for. If your opponent captures, they're gonna double your pawns, and now you have to evaluate if you can actually live with that, if doubling your pawns is actually good for you. I think in this specific position it's not that bad, but you're gonna get a weakness on a7, so the double pawns are not bad on their own. c6 is not that weak, I don't think he's gonna take it, or c7. The problem is mostly the pawn on a7. At some point it could be weak, but in general it's playable, it's quite playable, as you can see. There is no reason to worry, so it's completely playable. So this trade could be beneficial for white, because even though it's like equal trade, you give bishop for you give the knight for a bishop, which is 3 for 3, as we know. It's like bishop for the knight, so now we do have the bishop pair in an open position, and that's gonna play an important role here. Of course, I haven't played the best moves for black, but what I want to show you is that an equal trade, when it's like material wise it's an equal trade, it doesn't mean that you always have to go for it. Sometimes your opponent could get another advantage, like a bishop, like the bishop pair, maybe a passed pawn in other situations, an active rook or something. Maybe they could set one of their pieces free. So you always need to remember what you need to do when you want to trade, because you always need to keep in mind what advantage you're gonna get after the trade. If you're getting nothing, maybe the trade is not good, or it could be a neutral trade. Now, what I mean when I say neutral trade, I mean that, for example, let's go back, c6, d4, d5. Alright, so we're here. This trade, it's like a neutral trade, let's say. That's how I call it. Why? Because it doesn't change anything. I mean, takes, now it's the same pawns here. He doesn't take with the queen, the pawn structure doesn't change. I mean, alright, he can take with the queen, but this is like a Scandinavian, he has no reason to do that, nobody does that. This is like a Scandinavian with c6. So in general, of course, this is not the same as this position, but I call this neutral because it doesn't change the nature of the position. It's not changing the fact that there's still a pawn on d5. You're not getting a passed pawn or something. The characteristic of the position, the element, remains the same. A pawn got captured and a pawn reappeared at the same square. So these trades, I don't think they're good or bad. You just need to evaluate when you are going to play these trades, when you're gonna make these trades, because sometimes it could be better to just keep the tension. For example, if a trade is neutral and you don't have to take, then you could leave the tension as it is. Because, for example, let's say that you make another move. Now the pawn on c6, it's a little bit, it's a pain for black because he can't get the knight out. It's gonna be really annoying trying to find a way for this knight. So I guess knight c3, or in general some move that doesn't take the pawn, just keeps this neutral trade in hand for the next move, and also it's defending the pawn. And if the opponent takes, you get a knight, so you got something. Now this trade, you get a knight on e4, which is a central square. You don't really care that you moved the knight twice because he also moved the pawn twice. So this is like a better way to play when you see neutral trades, as I call them. You don't trade immediately. Now, alright, we saw the neutral trades. Now let's go and see what you do when you're up material. So when you're up material, I'm not gonna show like a complete example, but let's say that alright, something like this happens. Knight c6, and usually here a lot of people are blundering. Usually they move the bishop somewhere. They play, I don't know, bishop d6 takes, queen f6. So now you want to trade as many pieces as possible because you got an extra pawn. So trading is only going to make it easier for you to convert your material advantage to the full point. You're gonna try to, since you got the pawn here, you're gonna try to play on the side where you're better, where you have more pawns, trade pieces, and the more pieces you trade, the easier it becomes for you to promote one of your pawns. Okay, of course, the pawns you're gonna advance slowly but surely. First of all, I mean, of course, you need to develop your pieces. Castle is not, it's not necessary, but maybe long castle is fine. It keeps the king close to the center, and also brings the rook to the game. So yeah, just develop your pieces, and then you need to trade as many pieces as possible to make your life easier, make your life simpler in this position. You will love trades when we're up material. Of course, what I say is the opposite. For example, with when we're down material, we don't want trades. When we have more space, we don't want trades. Because when you have more space, you want to keep as many pieces as possible. You want to maneuver with your pieces in the space that you've got, while your opponent is suffocating because they have no space, nothing. So yeah, while your opponent is suffocating, yeah, this is the thing. This is logical actually. And now, what do we have here next? What do we have next? Of course, something that a few people don't really do. When you're defending, actually, when you're defending, you need to trade stuff. Why? Because when your opponent is attacking, he wants to give a checkmate or take some pieces for free. So when you're defending, you want to avoid material losses, especially heavy material losses. I mean, when you're defending, if you lose a pawn, maybe it's fine. But if you lose like a piece, a rook, it could be fatal. So when you're defending, you want to trade as many pieces as possible so that you keep your king safe, you keep your pieces safe. And that's especially that's useful when when your opponent has sacrificed material and he's attacking. So you're trying to trade pieces because you're also up material. So this serves two purposes. Like, you're also trying not to get mated, but you're trying to simplify the position as well, so that you're gonna get a winning endgame. Because of course it's easier to win when there are no queens, there are no rooks, and you have more material, because the chances you get mated are also getting slimmer. I should say. So it's not just that it's getting simpler for you to play, it's also getting harder for the opponent to find counterplay, which is really, really important. It's also really important from psychology, because the guy with less material is usually trying to find some counterplay, create some threats so that they have a chance to come back. But when you're trading pieces, you're discouraging that. Alright. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I don't think there's anything I missed. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, guys. If you find this video helpful, please give a like, subscribe to the channel, it really helps me a lot. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.